What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching a Marvel edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things matter to me in the world of Marvel films. This is episode number 86, and before I begin this episode, I just want to apologize for the lack of updates on this channel. It's mainly because I've been really busy with my video production company, Ronin Productions, but things are getting better now. I'm getting more caught up in my work, and now I finally have time to make video updates for you guys. I've been busy mainly because 2 weekends in a row I was out of town. 3 weekends ago I was in Toronto for TFCon, and then the following weekend after that I went camping, had a lot of fun. And but now it's time to get back to work because there are a lot of news tidbits to report on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and one of those big pieces of news that I have for you guys is regarding Spider-Man: The New Avenger, which is a film that is going to be coming out in 2017, but I'm going to leave that piece of information for the later half of this video, mainly because it contains spoilers, and I don't want to bombard you with spoilers right at the beginning of this video. I'm going to leave that for the later half, and then you could tune in, or rather tune off, if you don't want to watch spoilers. But for now, let's just recap on some other characters in Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. First of all, let's just do a box office update for Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a great film. I hope you caught it in the theaters, and it is no longer in the #1 spot because Mission Impossible Rogue Nation took it out of the #1 spot in its third weekend of its release. It was #1 for 2 weekends in a row, and after 3 weekends, it has made $134 million in the domestic North American market and also $294 million worldwide. Now that is great because it is no longer last place in this list of 12 Marvel Cinematic Universe films. Last place would be The Incredible Hulk, both domestically and also worldwide. And you know what? Even though Ant-Man is at 11th place of all these 12 films, I have a feeling that it can pass Captain America: The First Avenger, which is currently at $370 million. It's mainly because Ant-Man has not opened in all of its international markets. It still has to open in Mongolia, Italy, South Korea, Austria, Greece, China, and Japan, with China making most of its international market business. Alright, so it is possible that Ant-Man can surpass $370 million, which is what Captain America: First Avenger made, and then because of that, Marvel Studios and Disney, or rather Disney, will determine if they want an Ant-Man sequel for Phase 4. Because that's what it all really comes down to. Money. Did Ant-Man make enough money? I think it's doing a good amount of business for a new character, and a character that a lot of people were really skeptical about. I think it's doing quite well, and once it opens in Asia, I think it's gonna be fantastic. So, you know what? I'm looking forward to more Ant-Man, and we are first going to see Ant-Man again in Civil War. Speaking of Civil War, let's talk about who is going to be appearing in Civil War. And there was a rumor going around that Mark Ruffalo was going to be reprising his role as Hulk, but there was no real actual confirmation of that. But now it looks like we do have our visual confirmation. Now, I don't have photos to show you, but at least apparently they are filming in Germany, and to start off the filming, they celebrated with a little bit of partying amongst the cast members, and the cast members that were seen partying were Chris Evans, Anthony Mackie, Daniel Bruhl, who plays Baron Zemo, and also Mark Ruffalo. Alright, so these 4 cast members were seen partying at a club in Germany before they started filming, and Hulk appearing in Captain America: Civil War, that's going to be awesome, mainly because, well, General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is going to be in it, and who's played by William Hurt, and you know what? That is going to be nuts, because it could suggest that we're going to see Red and Green Hulk. I don't know, but that would be very, very cool if we do see that. Anyways, Mark Ruffalo has joined the cast, and that is going to be awesome. Now, someone who is supposed to join the cast was supposedly Wasp. Wasp, who was teased in Ant-Man, which was an awesome cameo appearance, by the way. Wasp was originally supposed to appear in Captain America: Civil War, according to Kevin Feige, but he said there were just too many characters to bring her in. But he did say that we can expect to see her in the next 3 years. Now, in 3 years, there is Black Panther, there is Thor Ragnarok, there was Spider-Man, the First Avenger, there's also Captain Marvel. So we can expect to see her in one of those films, or rather wait a minute, isn't in 2018, doesn't Avengers Infinity War come out in 2018 or 2019? Anyways, we can expect to see her in the next 3 years. So that is going to be awesome because I want to see more Wasp, and Evangeline Lilly is signed on to play, or rather reprise her role as Wasp again. Now, speaking of which, Lady Sif, played by Jamie Alexander, says she has a pivotal role in Thor Ragnarok. And she also says that Captain America Civil War is tied directly with Thor Ragnarok. Perhaps we're going to see that, I guess, I don't know, what do you call that? Post-credit scene? A post-credit scene which could tie directly with a Civil War with Thor Ragnarok. Who knows? I mean, that's what a lot of the films have been doing. The post-credit scene, ties directly with the next film, and it really, really teases the audience for what's to come in the next film. So if she says there's something that ties directly with Thor Ragnarok, then I'm excited because I love how these films are all connected together. Now, let's talk about Spider-Man, the first Avenger. Now, once again, I gotta mention that this is spoilerific material, so if you don't want to know anything about spoilers, this is where you should tune off right now, okay? First of all, Spider-Man reboot has writers, okay? Nothing spoilerish right now, but we're going to talk about some spoilerific stuff that has to do with the writing of this film. John Francis Daly and Jonathan M. Goldstein are the writers, and they say that it is going to be the funniest Marvel Cinematic Universe film yet, with a lot of witty and wisecracking humor from Peter Parker. Now, humor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was something that I started only really noticing when I watched The Avengers, directed by Joss Whedon. It was just really, really funny. And then afterwards, they brought on Iron Man 3, which was even funnier. And then Guardians of the Galaxy was hilarious. And then, of course, you have Ant-Man with a comedic actor like Paul Rudd. And now the writers say that it's going to be the funniest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's just crazy. I can imagine it being really, really funny because they did say that they were going to take it into the John Hughes tone of teen comedies. So I can see where it could be funny, all right? Now, with regards to spoilers, they have mentioned that the cameo has been filmed. The cameo... by cameo, I mean the cameo in Captain America Civil War. Tom Holland is going to be appearing in Captain America Civil War in a cameo appearance, okay? I don't know if it's going to be within the main film or if it's going to be a post-credit scene, okay? But it could be one or the other or both. But they also mentioned that Spider-Man does have a fight scene in Civil War. All right, and what's very interesting about this fight scene is that it is going to be very different from what you would normally expect for a superhero fight scene. Okay, I'm just going to read this quote. He fights, and his fight scene might be the one that really gets fandom excited. Not because of how top tier the face-off will be, but because of how profoundly dorky and unlike any other big screen superhero fight it will be. Now, this doesn't tell me a whole lot about who he's going to be fighting, but it talks about his fighting style, or it rather teases his fighting style. And that is, well, Tom Holland is a young kid. He's a teenager. And so he probably doesn't have a whole lot of training in fighting, as a grown man. He's fighting like a teenager, and of course he has his superhuman abilities as Spider-Man. And we do know that the scene rather the cameo appearance is actually directed from the director of Spider-Man Spider-Man the New Avenger, not the Russo brothers. Okay, so what I'm thinking here, and I'm just going to throw this together by putting the math together, I think the cameo appearance is that fight scene. And it's going to be a fight scene that takes place in the high school. And it's Peter Parker fighting off bullies with his superhuman skills. That's why it's going to be profoundly dorky. And also, it is a scene that is filmed from the director of Spider-Man the New Avenger. And it's a scene that that can be filmed without having to do anything with the filming of Captain America Civil War. It's going to be that post-credit scene. That is my guess. Okay? So that's what's happening. Now we're going to get into a little bit more hardcore spoilerific stuff because now we're going to get into this rumored list of cast members. This is a rumored list of cast members. I don't know where this came from. I just know that it was reported from the major comic book movie websites, okay? So, first of all, let's just state the obvious. Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, which is the first supporting character that was cast. And now we have this. Billy Zane as the Vulture, Jason Biggs as the Scorpion, Timothy Chalamet as Harry Osborn, Hugh Laurie as J. Jonah Jameson, which is actually a great casting choice if it were really true. We have Forrest Whitaker as Robbie Robertson, which is one of the few people at the Daily Planet who actually believes in Spider-Man. And then, get this. Robert Downey Jr. will make his inevitable cameo in Spider-Man: The New Avenger. Now, out of all these things, the only thing that I found believable is the cameo appearance from Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and also Hugh Laurie as J. Jonah Jameson, because he looks the part. Now, as for these villains, Jason Biggs as the Scorpion, Billy Zane as the Vulture. Like, I really want to see the Vulture. I really, really want to see the Vulture. And I think Billy Zane as the Vulture is a great choice. Jason Biggs as the Scorpion, I don't know where they're really going with that. I don't even really know where they're going with having two villains. Okay? But like I said, this is a rumored list. Okay? But part of it is true, considering that they have Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. Okay? Now we get into some even more spoilerific stuff, because it's possible that what I'm about to tell you now is who the true villain is going to be. All right? This is reported from a website called Heroic Hollywood, and it mentions a rumor that Kraven is going to be the new Spidey villain. And why Kraven? First of all, I think that Kraven as the new Spidey villain is going to be great. He's the hunter, okay, and he wants to hunt Spider-Man, okay, and the sources, the source, or rather the evidence of Kraven being the villain for Spider-Man: The New Avenger is because Sony's Vice President of Creative Affairs, Karen Moy, recently purchased a copy of Kraven's Last Hunt trade paperback on Amazon. How did they even know this? I have no idea why or how, but that's what happened. Karen Moy, the Sony's Vice President of Creative Affairs, purchased a copy of Kraven's Last Hunt. So, there you have it. All right? This rumor leads, or rather points to, Kraven being the new villain. Now, I'm totally down with Vulture being the main villain. I'm also down with Kraven. I think it's great that we stray away from the whole, Green Goblin thing. I think that we should really get away from that. Okay, they're already getting away from the origin story. They're getting away from the Uncle Ben death. Okay, so now it's about Peter Parker dealing with high school problems, okay? Teenager problems. So, yeah. Kraven as the new villain. What do you guys think about that? And what do you guys think about anything that I've talked about? Let me know in the comment section below. This is a pretty loaded episode. We talked about a lot of Spider-Man stuff, and this is really, really exciting. We are getting Spider-Man in 2 years from now, and it's time for them to start doing pre-production, and it's mainly because 2 years is the typical amount of time that you would want to take for producing and making a film of this scale. This is a big summer blockbuster, which is going to be coming out exactly 2 years from now, and they're starting to work on it, and this is the type of news that we're getting right now, which is in a way rumors, but if it's true, man, this is some pretty juicy stuff. Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this video. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter @RaginNation. My name's Alex Yu. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Action films, because he has directed Tom Cruise in Jack Reacher back in 2012, and also he wrote the screenplay for Edge of Tomorrow, which came out last year. Now, what does Christopher McQuarrie